He instructs them how to be safe, responsible gun owners. And that's something you should advocate all the time. And the message that Kirk's going to bring to us here is an important one. And I ask you, please get in touch, find his table, get signed up, get a raffle ticket, and even if you're already licensed and you got your license to carry, share that with somebody. Find a high school graduate and say, here you go. We need to engage the youth. They are being indoctrinated in these, I don't know, I homeschooled my kids because quite honestly, I looked at the public schools as little socialist cesspools. It is horrible what they are doing to the minds of our children. And we got to break that link. You got to unschool them. If your kids are in government schools, you got to unschool them when they get home. Clean that crap out of their head and turn them back into Americans. Homeschool them. I did. The hardest thing I ever did, but I'll tell you what, my kids say, please, thank you, and we'll hold the door for a lady. They're not sitting there home right now on that plastic Game Boy. They're out doing things. They're outside. They're working. They're productive. The next generation, we're about 2 generations into it right now. The public schools are churning out, and we look at them on Facebook. We look at them on the news. We laugh and point, and we say how ridiculous that looks. I can't believe what I'm seeing. And we laugh and we click that button off. They are the ones that are going to be protecting your freedoms and liberties. That's the generation, okay, as we all get old, us old farts get old, and we fade off. Look on your television and on YouTube at what is about to take over the security of our rights and freedoms. It's a scary thing. Please reach out to the youth. Next year, every year I ask 2 things of the audience. 1, do what you do with love in your heart. And 2, bring someone to the rally next year. Well, I'm ramping it up. Don't just bring another adult, another old fart like me. Bring a kid with you next year. Bring some of the youth. Yep. I want to see more young people here. Like me. All right, there we go. Hey, look at this young fella right here. So we have got to ramp it up. We got to learn how to argue this logically. We've got to use facts. We can't use emotion. One of our speakers is coming in, Dan Wass. He's the author. 2 years ago, came with Jan Morgan. His first book was about how fear and emotion is used to churn up that reaction that they want for the gun grabbers. His second book, it just came out. We're lucky to have him here. It focuses more on the media's complicity in this. All right, so we're here to educate ourselves and celebrate. Without much further ado, I want to get on to one of our veteran speakers here. He's been on the agenda pretty much, I think, every year that we've had this event, and he's just done a stellar job. Please give it up for Mr. Kirk Whatley.
Everybody hear me back there in the back of the tent? Fantastic. I hope I can live up to Dave's introduction, that's for sure. We've all seen the March for Life. All the students going out there. And that just boggles my mind. What we have got to build on what Dave was talking about is we've got a generation. It started back in the 1960s where the liberals started to take over public education. I can remember, I'm 56, being in junior high, elementary school, junior high, and high school, and I had my teachers look at the class straight in the eye and tell us the only reason that socialism and communism has failed is because it has not been done right yet. And they've continued, and we're seeing the effects of it right now. We have got people out there, students, moms, teachers, the anti-gun groups funded by George Soros, they're out there petitioning and rallying to have rights taken away. That boggles my mind. I can't believe that people are out there openly advocating to have rights taken away. The media is also involved in this. Now, I got a question for you guys based on the March for Life. AR-15. AR stand for assault rifle? No. Does it stand for automatic rifle? No. What does it stand for? Armalite, 1957. They came out with it. You'd be amazed who doesn't know something like that. And we go to the gun laws that are in existence. Who's in favor of keeping guns out of the hands of the crazies? Yep. All right? The crazies, people deemed mentally insufficient by the state, people with felonies and information like that. Did you guys see the article where they reported that 500,000 names were removed from the NICS database? Did you guys see that? I got news for you. From 1994 to 2017, guess how many names of mentally insufficient people the Commonwealth of Massachusetts submitted to the NICS database?
100.
One.
Wow.
One name from 1994 to 2017. They admitted that. That was in the Boston Herald. Stop and think about that. We've got people who openly let the crazies pass NICS background checks, do bad things, and who gets blamed? We get blamed. And more gun control laws get passed. But check this out. Massachusetts submitted, out of those 500,000 names removed from the NICS database, 430,000 of those names resided in Massachusetts. You know what you got your name submitted for?
Owning a gun and being a constitutionalist.
Well, that may be, but if you failed to pay your excise tax, your name got submitted to the NICS database. But if you're mentally insufficient, don't worry about it. 430,000 names out of 500,000 names. That should tell the feds that something is really screwed up in this state. It's absolutely unreal. We look at things. Now, to get back to the media for just a minute, you guys had to have heard this one. Have you guys heard the new term created by CNN, and they did an entire hour-long segment on it on a special? They went to an indoor range, and one of their reporters was there with somebody who had a full semi-automatic AR-15.
How is it fully semi-automatic?
That is a term created by CNN to generate fear. That's like saying my manual stick shift is a full semi-automatic. It just doesn't go with it. But they spent a whole hour talking about it. The blatant lies put out by the media is absolutely staggering. And what they leave out. Who heard about the school shooting in Maryland? Probably nobody, right? It didn't make any of the mainstream media. One person in the back heard about it. The reason it didn't make the media is because a student came into a school with a firearm intent on doing a mass shooting. The student got off one round. An armed resource officer confronted the student, got into a firefight, and the student took his own life. An armed resource officer stopped it. Not newsworthy. But that's a good guy with a gun stopping a bad guy with a gun. And then we've got the situation down in Florida where we had the cops on site, but the guy on site would not go into the building. And then the other ones that showed up were told to organize in the parking lot while the active shooter was still engaged. So I don't know what kind of protection they think that is, but that's absolutely nuts, which is how the whole March for Life idea got started. There was a study done, I think it was by Gary Kleck, that showed that as a group, when he breaks down the group, that law-abiding firearm owners are safer with their firearms than law enforcement, as far as accidental shootings and accidental discharges. So as a group, we do very, very well. And something I want to reiterate that Dave talked about is that when we are out there, every one of you represents me. I represent all of you.
Absolutely.
The person sitting on your right represents you and everybody else in this room. We need to be good people, just be who we are, be responsible, and when you get identified as a firearm owner in your community, especially in this state, you represent the masses. So if you're a good guy with a gun, well, maybe all gun owners aren't bad. But if you're a moron with a firearm and somebody sees you, then all firearm owners are morons, like the Democrats and the media try to portray us as. So we need to be on our best foot. If you're carrying today, I'm sure that you know this, but no alcohol. I'm part of the security team. All of us are just having soda and water today. So please be responsible when you go out there and do your activities as well. It's interesting, when I do my classes, I ask people why they're here. And I get a wide variety of reasons. Self-defense, my significant other has a firearm, I want to be safe, something like that. One of the few answers that I ever get is because it's my right. And it is our right.
Yep.
You guys recall Heller versus DC? You guys don't recall that? Okay. I see half the room nodding, the other half not. For those that are not nodding, Heller versus DC. Joseph Heller was a correctional officer in the DC prison system. He guarded the scum of the scum. And occasionally some of the scum would get out, but they all knew him by name. So when he retired, he went to the DC chief of police and said, I'd like to have a handgun in my house for self-defense. DC chief said, no, nobody gets one. So he appealed it and was told no. He appealed it all the way to the United States Supreme Court. That's when Anthony Scalia, the lion of the Supreme Court, was there presiding. The argument, there were two streams of argument. One is the Second Amendment is an individual right that belongs to the people, like it says people in here. Interestingly, the Second Amendment is the only place in the Constitution where it says people, and people on the left interpret that to mean the government. So the two arguments were the Second Amendment is an individual right, the other one is the collective right belonging only to the government and the military. That was the argument. Now, people that are familiar with it, what was the ruling? 9 justices. What was the ruling?
5-4.
5-4. 5-4.
Scary.
Then Anthony Scalia died in Arizona in his sleep.
He was murdered.
Well, you could argue that as well. He passed, I'll word it that way. So Anthony Scalia passed away. We had a divided court, 4-4, going into this election. For those that weren't aware how close we were to really having some massive infringements on our rights, Hillary is more anti-gun than Obama, and Obama ran guns to the drug cartels and didn't tell the Mexican government. And Hillary's worse. So we had a choice. If Hillary won, God knows where we would be. I will say that Trump did spend most of his life as a liberal Democrat in favor of gun control, but I guess he saw the light and is now anti-gun control, and it was endorsed by the NRA. So this past election for the Second Amendment was a real nail-biter, because we were looking at a divided court, one court justice. If it wasn't Gorsuch and it was somebody that was anti-gun, I don't know where we'd be. Thank God Trump won and appointed Gorsuch to the Supreme Court, because now our Second Amendment is safe for now. What we need to do is replace Kennedy when he retires, and Ginsburg, if she stays awake long enough, we can retire her. It boggles me, and in this state especially, we now have the ERPO law, the Emergency Enforcement Protection something. You need to go out and you need to read that. Under the ERPO law, a member of your family can report you, and the state police can come in without notice, without due process, take all of your firearms and all of your ammunition. And it's written into the law, they may dispose of it however they wish. How fair is that? That the government can take something of yours and get rid of it against your will.
Without due process.
Yeah, especially without due process. So we've got a lot at stake in this election. It looks like ERPO is going to pass because Charlie Rhino, he's going to sign it after the Senate passes it. We had too many people, it was like 134-14, I think, in the House. Too many Republicans cited for it. We need to go out and increase our numbers. This is something I say every year, and I'm going to reiterate what Dave said. Please, please, next year, bring someone who might be on the fence about the Second Amendment. Let them come and meet us. We're nice people.
We don't bite.
Yeah, we don't bite. We breathe the same air that they do. We drink the same water that they do. We've got a lot of good family-oriented people that are here. We're not the big, scary people that the mainstream media makes us out to be. Please, for the sake of it, bring someone next year, like Dave said, like me, not an old coot that's already in favor of the Second Amendment. Bring somebody who's not sure. That's what I love about my class. I've converted a lot of people that were on guns. After the class, they're Second Amendment voters. That's my goal. I make Second Amendment voters one student at a time. You need to do the same thing. Imagine what this tent would look like, what this whole activity would look like if every one of us brought one more person. And think of what it does to the ballot box. Increasing, educate people. Let them know what's going on. You got a friend, bring them to the range. Be safe. Bring them with a 22. Don't bring a 12-gauge turkey load. But bring them with a 22 and let them plink some cans. Set them up. Show them how fun it can be. Show them how to be safe and responsible. That also goes back to, we take a look at a lot of the mass shooters that have taken place. I'm not going to give anybody credit, or fame, I should say, by using their name. But when we take a look at it, we have got a variety of instances. People have killed other people to get their guns. People have gotten dad's guns, and illegally they've gotten that. They've bought them illegally. That right there should tell us that gun laws don't work. And we've also got a few people out there who obtained their firearms legally, who I guess were a little bit off in the head and did things they should not have done. But that all goes to prove that the gun laws don't work. Because if somebody wants to do evil, evil is in the heart of the man. It's not in the heart of the weapon or the firearm. The firearm is inanimate. We all know that. It is in the heart of the person. You don't make people safe by disarming them. That's for certain. But going back to it, we've got people that have acquired firearms from inside their own house or a friend's house. As responsible firearm owners, this is just a reminder, make sure that your guns and your ammunition are locked up and inaccessible to unauthorized individuals. Now, guys, I'm going to rat us out for just a minute because I do this in class and it gets a good response, so I guess I'm going to keep doing it. But ladies, as you look around this tent, if you see a gentleman with gray hair, I'm not an exception. It is by the grace of God we got to be this old. And I say that because every man in this room can think back at a point in his life when he was a young man, 12, 14, 16, maybe 20 years old, dumb as a freaking box of rocks. And we are invincible. And we ought to be dead, but for the grace of God, because of our own friggin' stupidity. Ladies, that's the truth about men. Now, what you need to do when you store your firearms and store your ammunition is think of your 12 or 14-year-old self. How stupid you were, how maybe captivated by firearms you were, and just how dumb. And keep your firearms and your ammunition away from that 12-year-old yourself. Think about that. We all need to, I'm sure we do that, but just as a reminder, we need to do that in our own homes. Safe, responsible storage, safe, responsible gun owners. Is Larry here yet?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I don't know if I got much more to talk about. I was supposed to talk till Larry got here, but I also don't want to bore you guys. I think I'm pretty much done with things. My final word, though, I said it before, is please bring somebody next year who may be on the fence about firearms. Introduce them to us. Buy them a hot dog or something. Let them hear the speakers. We are not the extremists. We're family members. We believe in God. We want to be safe. We want nice neighborhoods. We want all of those things. So please, we need numbers. I say that every year. Numbers, numbers, numbers. We need numbers. Each one of us has to go out and do our part to increase those numbers. With that, I'll give the microphone back to Dave. Thank you all very much.